Hello my dear viewers. Today I'm going to start this video off at the beginning of the game because it's very nice, green, luscious, and it's a polar, stark opposite of everything we will be seeing later in this video in Mount Fae. You see, this whole video concept started once I realized, well, I like making softlock videos on Hollow Knight Silksong, and I was looking for how to make a new one. And I saw there is a bench deep into Mount Fae that is very separate from any other benches, and every way out of that location seems like it'd be difficult to cross, because Mount Fae itself is very hard to traverse, even when you have all the abilities the game expects you to have. But what if I could get Hornet all the way to that leftmost bench without the abilities the game expects you to have, without claw line, without any tools to help her, without any HP upgrades, and all on Steel Soul mode? So I devised a way to get all the way to that bench with the ability to dash, the cling grip, and no tools, no upgrades, basically nothing else. I don't even get the Drifter's Cloak in this playthrough. And upon realizing I could get there and do all of that, I made a challenge to myself and I suppose to everyone watching this video. Is it possible to escape from Mount Fae when you've deprived Hornet of almost everything the game expects her to have and any other benefits that she would have in a standard playthrough? And that is what I'm going to show off today. I'm going to skip all of the material gathering parts and come back to you once I have the setup prepared. I have done my speed run of the game, getting what I need. I got the Shell Satchel and Silk Spear. The Shell Satchel doesn't matter, it's more of a joke than anything else. But in addition, I have a Hunter's Cloak with no upgrades at all, a Needle with no upgrades, Cling Grip, one Silk Heart, and the ability to dash. And that's all I've got. Now, you may be asking yourself, dear viewer, Kilroy, how the heck am I supposed to get to Mount Fae with only these abilities? Don't you normally need Claw Line and a bunch more than that to get far into Mount Fae? And to that I say, you gotta watch the rest of the video, theoretical viewer in my head. I gotta go get myself sent to jail first so that I can start this whole process for you. Well, I've made it through the whole slab escape sequence. You think if these warden flies were born and raised in this prison that this is the most fun they've ever had in their entire lives, and they just grew up without a concept of friends or anything beyond these prison walls? It's sad. Not sad enough that it doesn't make me want to snap their necks though. I gotta be on Hornet's side here. One beatdown later and we are ready to try and take on Mount Fae. Well, not quite ready. We have all the keys we need and we're in the area we need to be. However, we have one more thing to set up. Something else that's important to mention is that we're in Steel Soul mode means we normally have to be careful, but we can set up something here that makes it so we don't have to worry about our health ever again. Bench storage. By saving and quitting here, we have not sat on a bench ever since we got kidnapped and sent to the slab. And because of that, we woke up in the area we got kidnapped. And because we save and quit on that bench, we now have bench storage active, with a crest that I neglected to mention I got, but which is absolutely crucial to setting up this softlock at all. The Reaper crest. Make that Reaper crest use number 5084 for Kilroy was here after a couple weeks of saying Reaper crest is terrible and I will never use it for any reason. So yeah, Reaper crest enjoyers stay winning, I suppose. But part of the reason that we need the Reaper crest is because of movement tech that I will show in a very short amount of time that requires us to have both the Reaper crest and bench storage at the same time. But in addition to that, part of the reason we got bench storage is because we need the healing. If we are trying to do any tricks in Mount Fae that aren't seconds long, we need the ability to pause the game and instantly heal so we don't die. And I could have just not done this on Steel Soul mode, but adding Steel Soul mode makes this a much harder softlock. So to begin with, we don't have the claw line, so in case you didn't know, all of you viewers out there, the game wants you to have claw line to even get on Mount Fae. That's why it's available so early, because Team Cherry doesn't expect you to go there without claw line. The reason I needed the Reaper crest is because you can change crests with bench storage active, and if you change crests in the middle of the Reaper's running attack, it flies you up into the air. Now, I thought this would be an incredible thing to use in Mount Fae, because normally when you get hurt in this state, you gain control of yourself. What I did not know is that getting hurt by Mount Fae's cold air does not break you out of this Reaper Crest flying animation. So I basically wasted a bunch of time thinking I would easily be able to traverse all over Mount Fae, because I could always just take damage from the cold and free myself. However, that doesn't mean it's impossible to use the Reaper Crest sword to get through Mount Fae. And all I really need to find at this point was a flying path that put me in the way of an enemy or a spike, so that I could break out of this eternal flying hell and make my way onto the bench I'm trying to get to. I got fairly close after a number of attempts. I made another Reaper soar, and I actually got hit by an enemy, so I was free to explore Mount Fae. The problem with this is that until I get high enough in this room, I'm still limited by my own lack of movement abilities. I cannot get up the normal path of Mount Fae when I don't have the claw line and I don't have the ability to die and leave a cocoon behind. I thought I could find a way by going into this room, because the path to the bench is actually directly above this room. So if I could theoretically go up a high, narrow pathway, I could get to where I wanted. So I tried to soar here as well. And even though one attempt failed, I saw that it probably wasn't going to work. I would need to soar high enough and find the perfect enemy to get me knocked out right next to where I wanted. So I tried to soar in the outside room to see if I could just continue the normal pathway. And that didn't work out so well either. So I figured I could use some help for this. And help came from a very unlikely location, the YouTube search bar. I literally looked up this tech in Mount Fae, only to find this video from G-Pro about getting the Fade Down Cloak with Reaper Soaring. And I can use that, not for Reaper Soaring, but to get to my bench. G-Pro is a great YouTuber, by the way. I've called him out before, so I'll link his video below. Go subscribe to his channel if you like the kind of stuff I do. So, the main thing that whole video showed off is that when you run in Silksong, you can go back and forth and change directions, and if you change directions while running off of a ledge, you can do almost a non-moving running attack. Basically a running attack that happens with no forward momentum in the actual attack of the Reaper Crest. Instead of pushing you forward in a angle, you can just go straight up. And that is great for something that requires heavy control, like targeting an enemy specifically. G-Pro found out in his video that if you do that turnaround running attack, whatever you want to call that kind of Reaper soaring, right at this location next to these spikes in Mount Fae, you will soar straight up into an enemy, guaranteeing you to gain control of Hornet every time you do this. It's fairly incredible that he found this at all. It's incredible I found the video and that he found it to make that video. Now, I went right into the spikes, but I'm going to show you what happens when you do that trick the right way. The entire process of setting up and doing the launch is the same as it was last time. The only thing you have to do after you get this launch perfect is make sure that you can pogo off of the spikes to the left of you immediately after getting hit. That's why I switched to the Reaper Crest for its better pogo, and now I have successfully made it as far as I need to go in Mount Fae. If you wanted to go and get the Fade Down Cloak with a lack of abilities, you could continue, you could follow G-Pro's video, but at this point, we do not need to soar with the Reaper Crest anymore, which makes me very happy because it's very finicky and I find it more fun to actually be able to platform the way the game intended than just glitching all the time. Glitching sometimes is fun, but not all the time. At this point, we are perfectly free to run to the bench that we are going to make our soft locking location, theoretically. And we don't even have to care about getting hurt, because we can just open the menu and heal ourselves. And speaking of that, why do we have to worry about platforming through this room at all? Hornet loves taking an ice bath. See, can't you all see how happy she is, my dear viewers? She loves being able to tank all this damage without dying forever. And I'm sorry, Hornet, but your ice bath will have to end soon because we're almost at the end of this room. And stuff like this is the reason why bench storage is so necessary to get this far. We didn't have to go through the ice water, but we can't platform normally since we don't have the claw line. all we have left to do is to make sure we have enough rosaries to buy the actual bench and go do so. Buying the bench does two things. First of all, it sets this as our last save point, which means when we save and quit from now on after sitting on this bench, we will only ever show up in this area of Mount Fae. There is no way to get out of this area beyond physical movement. But the second and more important thing that sitting on this bench does is it deactivates bench storage, and we have no longer any ability to reactivate it. We can go into our menu and we can no longer change our crests. We have no ability to heal ourselves on the fly, to soar out of dangerous situations. We are stuck with the Hunter and Reaper crest, the amazing Shell Satchel, Silk Spear, a Hunter's Cloak, which we get no Drifter's Cloak with that. We get our basic Nail, Cling Grip, and Swift Step. And now we have set up the trap where we are stuck in this location. Now, I say stuck. The average viewer would just say, Kilroy, why not just continue on through Mount Fae? And I'm going to show you the problems with trying to go forwards in this area. So, as you will see immediately, the game wants you to have Clawline to even get up here. It's not hard to get up here once you get to this platform to the right, but past this point, that is a ring that we cannot access without Clawline. And more than just the difficulties in moving places, now that we don't have bench storage active, and we don't have any upgrades to our health, we are dying very fast if we take too long out in the cold in this game. So that is another part that I specifically wanted to make up, because if you're not on Steel Soul mode, then dying isn't a concern. It can even be helpful. When you're on Steel Soul mode, trying to escape in any of these areas is a massive stressor. I think my last attempt wasn't exactly the best I could have made, so let me show you a better looking attempt to prove that this really isn't going to be very possible. So, the best way you can attempt to get past this area without dying is to try and save as much time as possible. Now, I pogo off the enemy to make it to that platform. From here, you want to get a running start and try to jump and run up that slope. You can actually make very, very tiny amounts of progress on these slopes if you jump and dash into them over and over again. Now, the problem with making not much progress is that it takes a lot of time. So we can make a bit of forward momentum in this room by doing this. However, the problem with all that is that the second our freezing timer starts, we have almost no time at all before we die. And as quickly as you saw that freezing timer start up there, I do not think it's physically possible without tools or HP buffs or anything else to make it through the forward room in Mount Fae. Which means we have one place to go, because we can't go left. That leads nowhere in Mount Fae. The only way to escape this room is to go through the way we came. Now, this is more feasible than going forward, because you can pogo off the ice in this room, and you can swim, and you can pogo off some of the enemies. So let me try to give it a baseline attempt to show you what we're dealing with when we try to escape from here. I didn't activate the rocks, so that would save a bit time in the future. But the most time you can spend out of the water means you will survive for longer. However, I'm going to die on this attempt, so let me come back with a full heal. We have one full spool of silk to our name. We can heal ourselves once now. Let's make another genuine attempt to try and escape our fate of a frozen hellscape for the rest of our lives. So we 100% get farther when we have the ability to heal. It gives us way more HP to work with. And by pogoing off of enemies and items in this room, we are not too terribly far from the exit. However, I could not make it. And it was at this point that I decided this is a very well set trap, and I'm not going to lose my save file, so I'll save and quit here, and I will send it out to the world to see if anyone else could solve this problem that I've created. However, that isn't the end of the story. After setting up and testing this trap, I knew all the requirements, and I made a post on my Discord about it. By the way, check out my Discord, it's pretty awesome. We got a lot of people who love Silksong. It's in the description. But after making that post in the Discord, I described the basic outline of this challenge I've created, and I gave the challenge to everyone in my server to see if any of them could recreate it and solve it on their own. and much to my surprise, they did very quickly. A user named Bayfeather got out, pulled up their version of Silksong, and immediately set up this game. Now, they didn't set up exactly the same as I did, because they didn't do it in Steel Soul, but I'll forgive them as they didn't die in this footage, so it basically is the same. They found that you can pogo up to this platform if you get the exact right location of these enemies spawning. You damage boost into them, and then once you're up here, you have infinite time to farm up another heal from this enemy that respawns over and over again. And with this setup, by coming here with full HP around a third of the way through this room and another heal on the way, you have just enough healing and HP, even with base stats and no more silk than in your basic silk spool, to make it all the way across the room. So kudos to them for creativity. I didn't know you could even get up on this platform. I thought it would be impossible to pogo off of some of these enemies without having the claw line, the fade down cloak, or any other big movement abilities. And Bayfeather also manages to show how you can avoid some damage from the water by swimming for a long time at once. So they solved the problem almost immediately, and I have to say, kudos to them for that. So the answer to can you or I escape from this softlock I've made up is a resounding yes. And it was found out before I even could post the video and challenge the world to it. So apologies to anyone who wanted to wait for the answer, but you were beaten out by everyone on my Discord server. So hey, just another reason to do it. But if you are interested in seeing me come up with other challenges, ones that I could either give to my Discord server or post on YouTube before I post a video on it, I can find who the best players of Silksong are in this community by coming up with devious traps and seeing who the first person is to break them wide open and prove me a fool for thinking that I could stop the Silksong community from accomplishing anything. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, everyone.